Hey everyone, my name is Trey Fitz, but the name and version of myself whom I'm most proud to introduce to you all today is Fusion. I graduated from UC Berkeley in 2019, go Bears, and I'm a proud alumnus of Camp Kesem Berkeley, where I had the pleasure of serving as a camp counselor and outreach coordinator. Now, after working in education technology, I'm currently working in child welfare research, and I will be attending law school in the fall. Today, I want to tell you about a daybreak moment of mine. It was week one of camp in the summer of 2019. I was on the admin team, and though I was super stoked about camp, I'd be lying to you if I told you that I wasn't just a bit disappointed that our camper diversity numbers hadn't improved that year. You see, when I accepted my role as outreach coordinator during my last year at Berkeley, I made a commitment to myself to do everything in my power to leave CASM better than I found it. For me, this meant fundamentally changing the diversity of our camp that year. Nevertheless, on the second night of camp at our nightly staff meeting, I was approached by a fellow counselor and my best friend, Hairbender, who told me that a camper of his was having a tough time. The camper had expressed feelings of otherness as a result of being the only Black person in their unit and one of only 4 Black people at camp. Hairbender knew that this conversation was one that really only I could have, since I was the only Black counselor in our chapter. So, the following day, I hopped in on one of their unit's rotations and pulled the camper aside for a chat, with respect to ratio, of course. After hydrating for a bit, we began to talk about how they were feeling. They told me that it was really hard to be different at camp, that it was hard to be teased about how long it takes to do their hair after a day at the pool, that it was hard to be surrounded by friends who just didn't really understand. And honestly, I knew exactly how they felt. We then went on to have a long conversation about Blackness, what it meant to us in spaces like camp, and how we could move forward with our friends for the remainder of the week. We then reunited with their unit. I moved on to the next matter that needed tending to, as the admin team does, and camp went on. I tell this story because I used to think of daybreak moments solely as these moments where the world would stop and big words would appear in the sky so as to signal to me, hey, Fusion, like this is a daybreak moment. But now I'm not so sure because that definitely did not happen at camp that summer. The moment felt so fluid and natural that I didn't really think anything of it. I think about this moment often. Despite a failed attempt to substantially increase our diversity that year, I still found this moment of daybreak at camp, and it was just a simple conversation with a camper. The conversation may not have been the large scale impact that I had wanted to leave on the organization, but it was a moment, along with so many others that week, that together are making a more diverse CASM that much more achievable. Now, when I think of daybreak, I see it as the small moments in which the sun emits its first rays of light in defiance of the totality of darkness. I contend that daybreak is defined by the seemingly ordinary. Each time I reflect on this moment, I'm reminded of the poem The Rose That Grew from Concrete. Now, a rose seed planted in concrete probably doesn't get very much sun. So I'm reminded that we are all seeds. And you know what? Sometimes we're planted in concrete, but we all still reach for the sun just the same. So we have to remember to always seek out light. Even when it comes in small rays and at sporadic times, there are always moments of daybreak to be found so long as we keep ourselves open to them. To experience daybreak, we must first open ourselves to the possibility of light. We have to see and acknowledge that there are cracks in even the most dense slabs of concrete, and that light can always shine through them. These small moments of daybreak collectively contribute to what we call a sunrise. And these are the daybreak moments that I encourage you to both look out for and to recognize, because these are the moments that signal to us, hey, keep pushing and keep reaching. Dawn is on the horizon.